Howdy. Thanks for listening to Let the Movie Speak. Before we get started, we'd like to ask a favor of you.
It's a simple favor. If you could just rate and review our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you listen, that might help other ears get into our ecosystem here and hear another episode. Anyway, enjoy the show. On this week's episode, we take a look back at Season 1, award some films, directors, actors, and some of our favorite things from the 30s series in the first ever Golden Spud Awards.
Let the movie speak.
Welcome back, everybody. This is a very special episode of Let the Movie Speak. This is not our normal gig, Justin. This is something different.
It sure is there, partner. I just came off the dusty trail myself, and boy, am I excited to get off of my horse and find some whiskey and get to do a little, as you said in the intro, a little retrospective, kind of looking back through the tunnel of time and going, wow, the 30s.
Yes.
And what a decade it was, and what movies we were able to watch, and also excited about sponsorship.
Oh,
but,
yes,
that's just
course.
my two bits.
Yeah, we have a very special sponsor for this episode. As you probably have guessed, this has taken off like a wildfire, and they're lining up at the gate here to sponsor the show, and a very special sponsor, which sort of it may have shaped some of how we present our Season 1 awards, and theme and tone. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through Season 1 as a whole, and just we're going to give some kudos, and we're going to poke some fun, and hopefully have a little bit of fun, and hopefully it's fun for you too. It'll at least be fun for us, and you can just you can give a big thumbs down to yourself, though. We don't really want to see those thumbs. What we want to see is
Absolutely.
Stars and subscriptions and nice ratings, and maybe share a little post on social media. Money. Yeah. If you could just, again, carrier pigeon only. That's all we got. And send us a big fat carrier pigeon with a bag full of nickels tied to its feet. That would be
We're on the carrier pigeon app. Not to be confused with GoFundMe. It's Go Find Me.
Go Find Me.
You just type in the name of your client, and the pigeon will be dispatched to you, and will find us. So
not to be confused with Pidgey. That's not. We're not on Pidgey.
I'm sorry to use such harsh language, but I just cannot stand that trash.
No, it's garbage.
Just the taking advantage of the middle class,
the
like
corporate
that. I'm sorry.
overlords.
I don't want to get us in trouble with other sponsors.
Let's not. Okay. Anyway, this ought to be a lot of fun. We're going to look at some of the stuff we liked a lot, some of the stuff that was perhaps laughable or silly, and give our best. And I don't think we're doing worse. No, we're being nice today. We're being nice today, even if we do it with a knife held behind certain movies' backs. And before we go on and get into that, just a quick reminder, in all seriousness, we cannot thank you enough for listening up until this point. So thank you. This is a little bit of a labor of love on our part. We work hard, but we are super happy to get the feedback that we do, and to see people engaging on social media and rating on Apple Podcasts and leaving little reviews. Anything you can do is super helpful, and it helps us just continue to create content going forward. We're really excited about what we have coming up next, Justin, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, some fun kind of mini series to go in between these little decade dealios that we're doing, and I'm super excited for everything that's ahead. I don't know that you or I really knew how much fun this might be when we started doing it, but It's been an old blast.
An old blast, yes, like a stick of dynamite, not like nitroglycerin or C4.
Right.
An old antique stick of dynamite. That's what it's been. So let's run the show like we always do, I think, and let's not lose our minds too quickly here. What did we watch this week? Justin, I don't know about you, but I don't want to talk about this today.
Yeah, nobody freaking cares. Let's get in the awards.
Welcome, one and all, to the first, but not the last, I'm sure, Golden Spud Awards. I am one of your hosts, and I'm joined by my other faithful companion on the Irish Glades here, and we're gonna bring you some of the best and some of the worst and some of the most mediocre parts of season 1 in an awards show. And Justin, I'm dressed to the nines here in my penguin tux 5-piece, not 3-piece, and my shoes they're shined up. I can see my beautiful Irish freckles in them. How about you?
Gosh, this is a little embarrassing. Well, okay, I'm a little bit of I noticed that you were dressed that way. Awkwardly enough, I thought we were, dressing up as those who have, reaped the most benefit out of Ireland. So I'm dressed as an English aristocrat.
Oh, great! You'll be welcome in the land of Ireland.
I feel a little awkward.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure how our sponsor's going to feel about that, but hopefully they don't listen. Anyway, this is a complete departure from our normal structure, but we're hoping to just, if you have listened to an episode or two, or you've been one of those faithful, gotten through 1 through 10, and you're going to get some of this reference nonsense. And if not, hopefully you just enjoy our ridiculousness. But should we kick it off by giving away an award?
Let's kick it off.
Yeah, let's kick it off.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm so ready. I mean, you look ready. I mean, that costume. Is something.
Frankly, I'm more ready than you. Let's be honest.
Based on wardrobe alone, you're more ready than me. Let's start it by talking about Best 1930s Couple. Best 1930s Couple. And we're going to give this award away to a number of very, very highly regarded nominees. Couples, of course. So I will burp, and then I will announce the couples here, and then Justin, are you privy to the winners and losers? I mean, the committee obviously the potato committee decided these. I mean,
I have the envelope here.
Yes, you have the envelope. The potato committee has spoken. The nominees for Best 1930s Couple are, first, Peter and Ellie from It Happened One Night, Nick and Nora from The Thin Man, Richard and Pamela from The 39 Steps, Dr. Frankenstein and his assistant, Fritz, from Frankenstein, Catherine and Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights, and Scarlett and husband number 1. Scarlett and husband, the second one, and Scarlett and Rhett Butler. Third time's a bummer on that one, but Scarlett and fill in the blank, let's say. And the winner of this particular Golden Spud for Best 1930s Couple is...
Sorry, it's a very old envelope. It's Nick and Nora from The Thin Man.
All right, Nick and Nora, our favorite sleuthy, private eye, retired detective, loving husband and wife couple. What do you have to say about Nick and Nora? They were so much fun to watch on screen, just in general.
Yeah, I think I mean, I'm sorry, the illustrious committee chose them because they, I don't think I should have ripped that on second thought. They were.
They're gonna want that. That was like a gilded
that
envelope.
That was the deed to my deceased father's farm. So that is going to be a problem. But
you committed to the bit, and mad respect over here.
Thank you. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah. Back to Nick and Nora. I'll deal with the family drama later. They don't really have much family drama.
No.
And yeah, I mean, when you consider the other couples in there, let's see, who did we have? Peter and Ellie. Peter kind of. I'm actually thinking of Richard and Pamela from the 39 Steps. There's some. You know what? Here's what I'm gonna say. We didn't choose the rest of those dirt bags because they didn't deserve the award. Okay.
It.
Take it or leave it. Nick and Nora won that fair and square. Leave them alone.
Yeah, leave them alone. Stop. Everybody needs to stop piling on Nick and Nora from the Thin Man series. That I've seen so much Twitter hate.
It's just, yeah,
it's really frustrating.
It's insane. Cancel Nick and Nora. Like, are you kidding me?
No.
Why?
Yeah.
Who else shoots balloons off Christmas tree? Okay, not going to cancel anybody because of that.
Yeah.
It's just insanity.
Who else has a separate dance for shaking a martini based on different styles of music other than Nick? You can't cancel that. He's the original.
Who else drinks so much and doesn't get drunk?
That's right. Who is the most functioning alcoholic on this list? I mean, in all honesty.
Who is okay with taking a sucker punch from her husband and then saying, "Hey, honey, I get it. No problem."
You gotta get
It's Nora.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're the best 1930s couple, easily. And I mean, to be frank, like Peter and Ellie are fine and fun to watch. Richard and Pamela are intermittently fun to watch, but he also chokes her, which is not fun to watch. And Dr. Frankenstein and Fritz are
what we call a felony today was just kind of a minor plot point in or a passing fancy in the 39 Steps.
The passing fancy of choking a woman out so she wouldn't tell them that you have kidnapped her. That's
yeah, it's just all fun and games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What about Dr. Frankenstein and Fritz? Were they the runners up? I don't know. I happen to remember some dysfunction there as well.
Was there any kind of relationship between them beyond the science lab? We'll never know because they both dead.
They both dead.
They both have passed on. I tried to interview Fritz, but like I said, he's dead. So
it was an awkward interview. Yeah, he didn't have a lot of good answers.
I had a lot of people like, "What are you doing? This man is insane. Take him back where he came from." And then some person cancel him, and I just thought, "Oh my gosh, I can't get away from the canceling." So I left.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were two peas in a little weird sciencey, experimenty, unethically, bring back from the dead, play God little group together.
Yeah.
We might think later that's a cool band in the 80s, but in the 30s it's a little creepy. And so they got what they deserved, which is second place.
That's right. Second place. And I would say last place goes to the last two here. Catherine and Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights. Perhaps the worst couple. I mean, let's see. If being a good couple can be defined as loving each other so much that you'd ruin everyone's lives around you and then die, then they would win.
They would win. Hands down.
Yeah. They'd be the winners of that story. So they're a bummer. And then Scarlett and her many husbands. Scarlett and husband number one. I don't even remember his name. I don't remember who he is.
Doofus, I think.
Captain Doofus, I think, because he dies the scene after. He gets killed with a letter on screen a second after the wedding.
Right.
It's preposterous.
Yep.
And she doesn't mourn him.
That's how you know you haven't really made it in the movie, right?
Right.
They're like, "Okay, this is your goodbye. Now really give it your all." And they give him, what does he have to say to her? Like, "Oh, geez, Scarlett, thanks for marrying me. Gotta go shoot the Yankees now." Yep. And Ted Nugent's in the background rocking out and whatever.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, do I get my death scene on the battlefield?"
Yes.
And the director's like, "No, doofus. You don't.
No.
You get a letter.
He's like, my name's Jim. No, you're Doofus. You're Doofus from now on.
Yeah. Well, and I heard that Doofus committed suicide because of that. A little dark, but
it was
just kind of shows you the different industry. It was an industry of hard knocks back then.
Yeah, that's right. I don't remember the second husband at the moment. Who was the second husband before Rhett? She marries
Doofus number 2.
Yes.
The shop owner of
the shop owner. That's right.
Of whatever, he's a little. We shouldn't call him Doofus because he doesn't quite his drawl doesn't quite go as low.
Right.
And he's a little more intelligently equipped, as the scientists say. So I would call him Doofet.
Doofet,
or
Doofet.
Pathetifus.
Yeah. Pathetipus Rex.
He didn't last very long either.
Yeah. That's it.
Yes, that might be good. Yeah.
Okay. And then Scarlett and Rhett, all you got to do is watch the last 2 minutes of the movie, and he's like, you suck, and I'm leaving forever, and bye. I think that's the exact line.
Right. And she's like, hey, totes, see ya at Los Mansion, where I came from.
It's like, BRB, Tara. Yes, that's what happens.
Right. I was like, no, Scarlett. You idiot.
You idiot.
Anyway.
Okay. Shall we move on to the next award? I think we're
we probably should.
Yeah. That as much fun as that was. The next one, I can assure you, will be even more fun. Do you want to tell the folks what the next award is?
Best Autogyro. If you don't know what an Autogyro is, get on either that carrier pigeon app that we told you about.
Not Pidgey.
Not Pidgey. Don't, honestly, if we could just not mention that anymore, I feel like I could get through this a little better.
I'll try.
So an autogyro is an airplane-like device, but sort of the grandpappy or perhaps a great uncle of the helicopter.
Yes.
Anyway, whatever way you cut it, the award that we're talking about is Best Autogyro.
Yes.
And sit down, buckle up, take an extra swig of alcohol if you need it.
That's
in
right.
true 30s fashion. Here is the list we're about to go through. First, King Wesley in It Happened One Night. Next, unknown police guy that's flying the autogyro and the 39 steps.
That's right.
Those are our contenders.
It's a hot race between these 2 out of 10 movies. I'm surprised this one even made it on the list, but here's the winner.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotta be King Wesley. From It Happened.
It's gotta be.
Yes,
it's gotta be.
Only one of these autogyro pilots has a pencil mustache. Only one of these autogyro pilots says things like, "Oh, I'll love you forever, Ellie, until the day that I die."
Mm-hmm.
Only one of these autogyro pilots goes by King when he is no such royalty at all. Unknown police pilot.
Yes.
What's the matter with you? Did you even think for a second that you could beat out King Wesley? I mean, he gets left at the altar.
Can't.
Yes, it wasn't going to happen. Unknown police guy. It wasn't going to happen. King Wesley
Nope.
owns the autogyro scene. He owns it.
He does. I also heard he took a lease out on it. So I'm happy and content with closing that chapter and moving on to, I believe we have Best Director next.
Yes, Best Director. We had a lot of good directors this season, Justin. I would say overall, acting was really good across the board for most things.
Yep.
Save a few faces. And the directing probably was one of my favorite things about this series as a whole. It's pretty strong direction overall. But let's see here. We've got a who's who of 30s directors. Some of these names do carry forward into future decades in a big way. We have in first position here Fritz Lang for M, 1931, which was our first episode. We have Jean Renoir for The Grand Illusion, which was our 7th episode. Everyone wants to know the episode number, so I'm just going to keep saying them.
Yeah, I think so.
We have Alfred Hitchcock for The 39 Steps, which was our 6th episode, and Frank Capra Not for one of the other films, the other film rather that we watched of his, but for Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, 1939, and that was our 9th episode because all of you are, I know, penciling down all those notes. Justin, I'm gonna give you the honor of presenting this.
I'll
one.
get the let's see, make sure I get the right thing.
Yeah,
this
grab
time.
another
Okay, go for
important
it.
document to shred.
Okay. And it is Fritz Lang for M.
Hey,
That was
bringing
also my daughter's birth certificate.
Okay, the real question is which daughter, but we don't want one daughter to know that you shredded her birth certificate. So
Yes,
we'll leave it a
indeed
secret.
not.
So yeah, let's take a minute and just Fritz Lang for M. That movie I think was such a freaking awesome way to kick off the podcast and the first season. I still think about, sequences in that movie and the way that Peter Lorre, like you could tell the director just wrung out, for better or for worse, whether he was abused on set or not. The result is this incredible performance from Peter Lorre, which I attribute a lot of to Fritz Lang, because a lot of it's, silent stuff. Fritz Lang came from silent films, and so I think he brought a lot of that nonverbal acting skill as a director over. Not to mention, just like for 1931, it's a beautiful looking thing, and it really it's sunk in deep for me, man.
Yeah, it's timeless. I would agree with you. From the first shot to the last, there's nothing filler in that movie. There's hardly anything that's not iconic in its own shot, or in terms of acting. It's just it's very beautiful. It's the film equivalent of classic literature, in my opinion. So yeah, I agree. It's we don't want to be. On one hand, I don't think the point of this podcast is not like to be super pretentious. This week we're going to be looking at Ingrid Bergman's 17 films.
Yes.
I hope you're ready to fall asleep. There's a lot of stuff that's just not accessible to people.
Sure.
But I feel like Fritz Lang in M at least it's incredible. It's groundbreaking. It's breathtaking, but it's also just really accessible. You don't have to be like some kind of film nerd, I don't feel like, to really be moved by that movie. So yeah, I think Fritz earns his award from us.
Yes, good job, Fritz. And then of course we have Jean Renoir for The Grand Illusion, which we talked about at length in episode 7. Yeah. Such an interesting
Episode 7.
Not 6, not 8. Such an interesting look at like a prisoner of war kind of story in a very non-American lens, which was, I think, really refreshing. The things it says about war and just the way all the actors, he must have done some hard work to make that movie look great, as well as just bring everybody up to just an incredible bar of like consistency and overall just like it was just he runs a tight ship. Jean does.
He does. I mean, he has his own obviously very distinct style. It may not be as visually iconic as like Fritz Lang's, but Renoir spins his yarn, I think, in such a way that it is extremely engaging, even though it's from a quote unquote foreign perspective.
Yeah.
Again, the result is something really, really accessible and just a very moving story. If you have a heart that beats at all, I don't know how you're not affected by that, and how you don't at least, consider whatever your worldview is, or whatever you think about, political things like foreign policy or whatever. It's a man. I know this is more of like directorial intent than like best director, but it's hard for me to divorce one from the other when talking about that. So. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Renoir gets a thumbs up.
If you weren't moved by that, like Justin said, then you might as well just give up. Okay, next we have
I would
Alfred Hitchcock, who let's flip the coin over to its other side. At least in this movie, I would argue.
What is that? What is under the? What were you hiding? And what the heck, dude?
I was hiding a thought, and this is the thought. Okay. The thought is where Renoir he doesn't flex his muscles in the visual department. He flexes it in the like narrative kind of consistency department. Hitchcock doesn't have like some incredible narrative to work with in the 39 Steps. It's just a mystery story, sort of a man on the run caper. You could say thriller, but it's lighter than that. It's more popcorny than that, I think, as we discussed. But man, I'm thinking about the train sequence in the 39 Steps and how Hitchcock you can already see that budding like visual brilliance of how he decides to shoot the train sequence, and just overall, like, you can see his storytelling will be forever just like a very visual one, and that's in my mind why he made the list. I don't know why the Spuds committee didn't hold that over Fritz Lang. I think Fritz Lang kind of has it all in this regard, but what do you think?
Yeah, well, frankly, I think its Irish relations with Germany are a bit better and less historically stained than with the Englishman Hitchcock.
That checks out.
Yeah, I mean, Hitchcock, again, I think you bring up a great point about he is a very visually gifted. We talk about directors today that do really distinctive visuals, not necessarily always good. Like Zack Snyder comes to mind.
Yeah.
He's completely a visual director, but in the age that we're living in now of a lot of like very chaotic cinema, like in any of those wonderful Transformer movies or in even some of the Marvel movies where there is so much cuts between cameras and, every punch has a new angle or, there's aliens flying through, whatever's happening, you just get lost in it. And I don't think that's the director's intent. I don't think they're trying to. But, if I bring up that to say, maybe a little bit of a return to the old and the Renaissance fashion would be good for some of modern Hollywood. Like Hitchcock, that train sequence you talked about, that's a really that's a tense and emotionally stimulating scene to watch. And it's not shot with it's super antique technology by today's standards. Yeah. But it's that he just has the right eye and he knows what he wants to convey, and he can do it because the dude's an artist. He can do it with very little seemingly to great effect. So,
one camera at a time and no CGI, and it's just good eye and putting the camera in the right place, and it's something.
Yeah, agreed. And then we have your friend Frank Capra. I think he was just over to share chocolate mousse with you the other night.
Yeah, he likes
and his work in Mr. Smith.
Yeah, what comes to mind? What comes to mind for you? Why did Frank Capra make the list for Mr. Smith?
Well, frankly, I think it was kind of a bone to the Italians. I think there's maybe some spuds that were trying to be sold in Mediterranean. Who's to say? Probably not I should stay in my lane.
Stay in your lane.
Just a talking head, just a useful idiot. But no, Mr. Capra has a similar kind of sensibility, I think, to Hitchcock. But Capra's is less action-oriented. I think Hitchcock is even if the action, like in some of his other movies, is like the tension in the room between two people trying to find out a really dark, deep secret or something.
Yeah.
Capra's is much more, I think, about the human heart and just the struggle of the individual man, whether that's in It Happened One Night or Mr. Smith or in It's a Wonderful Life or whatever. That seems to be a reoccurring thread, and he does it to great effect. I mean, there's nothing much more affecting. I mean, there's plenty of movies that are affecting, but to see Jimmy Stewart just kind of give up at the end as he reads all those letters, the fake letters that have come in.
Yeah.
That's a testament, obviously, to Jimmy's acting performance as well. But the way that is captured on screen is really something I think that speaks to Capra's talents in pulling on our heartstrings too. Darn it.
That's right. Yeah. What comes to mind for me is the hat sequence, which we dove into big time when we had Sydney here talking about Mr. Smith, and that is such a unique concept that is so well executed, where he's talking to a woman and the camera just stays on the hat, the nonverbals and that tight shot of just him kind of fiddling with it and dropping it. It just tells you everything you need to know. It like you said, it's about character with Capra, more than plot lines moving along or tension being built by MacGuffins or anything like that. It's about who is on screen and how can he capture what they're all about. And for me, he's almost never bad, that guy. Shall we move into perhaps a more somber tone, because we do have to say goodbye. We have to say goodbye to a few things that the 1930s, at least the list of 1930s films that we viewed, brought to our attention, and we lived with these things for weeks. But it's now where we're going to bring in the somber in memoriam music and have our section that we call the least timeless moments, or the not so good old days.
Well, to start off, we have to say goodbye to that old mainstay of the 1930s, collectively known in our cultural consciousness today as the Great Depression.
Yes.
It was the worst of times. It was the worst of times.
That's right. It wasn't good.
And it was bad, and then it got worse.
Yeah.
And it's, so we see that, none of these movies are the, I don't know what the modern day equivalent would be, but it certainly is. This is not like The Big Short or something of the Great Recession, but, it permeates a lot of some of these movies. I'm thinking especially It Happened One Night.
Yep.
It's just very clear. Although in the 39 Steps, I recall there were several references to things not quite being good in Great Britain. Although maybe I'm getting that confused. Maybe that was just our talking point about how they avoided that.
Yeah, well,
whatever. You guys go watch the movie. You let us know on your podcast.
Yeah, exactly. You go make a podcast. No, I think I think the scene in the 39 Steps where he gets up at the political town hall meeting thing.
Oh yeah.
That feels very much like, everybody's sitting around looking for an answer, and he gives them nonsense.
Yeah.
And that has to be some Depression era satire.
Well, and what's really nice, Travis, is we can bid adieu to the Great Depression because we've thankfully that stayed in the 30s. We haven't had any kind of financial crises since then in the world.
It's
really
been
nice.
up and up and up since then. Not a single economic dip. Not one.
Yeah. It's great.
That's great. Okay, and we also need to say a fond farewell to the objectification of women. Thank goodness that didn't survive, right? Am I right?
Right. You dead on accurate. You hit the bullseye.
Yeah, it's like as soon as 1940 hits, I don't know what miracle occurred, but people just started looking at female characters and women on screen and going like, we need to treat these people like human beings, not like sacks of meat to be ogled. And that just, I'm so glad that our next many series will be filled, I'm sure, with depictions of women that are humanizing and uplifting and empowering.
Right.
I very much.
Well, just think of the thousands of women directors that we're going to have to choose from in the 40s alone.
I know.
It's
we're
really
swimming in
astonishing.
It's yeah. Thank goodness we get to say goodbye to that.
Whew. Yeah. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, yes. Well, there was a time when the press was the paper printed version of news. This was how one and all received their information.
Yes.
From the world at large, and as such, it was gently given to us in very subtle ways. I'm thinking, for example, in any of these movies, when a plot point was making national headlines, there would just be a still, quiet voice while newspapers spun frantically in the background that said, "Front page news! He's dead! No, he's alive! No, they've gone to Cuba!"
No, Jefferson Smith filibusters. A man on the run in the 39 Steps. Someone murdered in the Thin Man. Everyone's looking for Ellie, and it happened one night. The play they're making in 42nd Street. A serial killer on the run in M. This is a thing. We saw a lot of newspapers in our faces, and I think again a miracle occurred in 1940. Right, and that was that all newspapers ceased to exist, and therefore the obligatory news montage went with them. That's right, isn't it? I mean, I'm not a historian, but...
Yeah, no, I'm not either, but as I recall, people just became illiterate and started, just kind of overnight. So,
yeah, I remember everybody woke up and they were just... That was it, That was the... We didn't need the newspaper anymore because we were ignorant numbskulls. Yes, okay. Next, we're going to say goodbye. We're going to say goodbye, I'm sure, for the last time. I'm certain of this one. To the man who's never wrong. This is the perhaps principal character or maybe a B character, but in many of these cases, a protagonist who leads the story and seems to have every bit of information right at his fingertips and is almost never proven to be wrong. It's refreshing, I have to say. It's refreshing to see a man who's shown in this light, in a society that really men have to, work an uphill battle here.
Yeah, I mean, and isn't it nice that the man who's never wrong is so often objectifying a woman or
two birds
helping her to understand just simple things like how do I make toast? So it's really great. I think that he's given his time to shine.
I'll tell you how to make toast. First, it starts by slapping you. Yes, that was. I mean, we need more of that. We need more of that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, with kind of the '60s and the Cultural Revolution, that's really started to dip off in cinema. Yeah, so
that's a bummer.
I don't know. Whatever. Good. But and then we do have one more. Yes. Gotta say goodbye to this isn't sad. I want that to be clear, but we do have to say goodbye to racism.
Yes.
Because again, this just kind of stopped after the 30s.
It just stopped.
It was. I honestly think it was like Gone with the Wind came out and people were like, you know what? I think I've had enough of racism. And then, as I recall, the KKK was disbanded overnight, and they reformed or reincorporated into a 501c3.
Yes.
Brothers looking out for brothers. It's just really, really a lot of cool stuff happened. And, thankfully in 2021, having just been through 2020, no more racial tensions anywhere, especially America.
Nobody even talks about it anymore. Yeah, and
right.
It was like Gone with the Wind, right? Came at the end of the decade, and the news, the obligatory news montage was Gone with the Wind, the movie that solves racism. That was what happened.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, and solve it did.
Thank goodness.
No more do we get just if there is a character of African descent in any of these movies, he's just selling hot dogs or something, and saying something really ridiculous, and then he's gone 5 seconds later,
or carrying a bag, or driving some white person from A to B. Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
Yeah. So I'm really glad that we can say goodbye to that, and that we've never had problems of that sort again.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Yeah. So goodbye and farewell to all these things. May we never meet in the future. And now I think we're at the point here, Justin, where we need to give a little bit of a break so that we can have our sponsor get a word in edgewise. Are we about at that time?
Okay,
you got a minute?
Yeah. Let me. Okay. Yep. I do have to go to the bathroom. Go ahead.
Okay.
Top of the morning to you. This is Leprechaun Bob from Leprechaun Bob's Potatoes. What do I and film enthusiasts like you have in common? That's right, potatoes. For those of you who walk into a grocery store, pick up a potato and think, what am I supposed to do with this? I have your solution. My new cookbook, Potatoes, What to Do with Them. I have all the best recipes in there. Mashed potatoes, fried potatoes, boiled potatoes, and whiskey. And with each cookbook purchase, you get a free potato. And don't forget about us for all your catering needs. We do royal feasts, executions, and quinceañeras. So call me, Leprechaun Bob, at 1-800-POT-OF-GOLD. And if you call within the next fortnight, you receive my free ebook, How to Survive the Potato Blight. Like Grandma used to say, the potato blight. It's a bummer. So call me, Leprechaun Bob, 1-800-POT-OF-GOLD. Wishing you all a pot of potatoes at the end of your rainbow.
Okay, welcome back. We're still here at the Golden Spuds, and wow, somebody's actually still listening to this.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
cool.
Yeah.
So on our next category, we've got best tunage,
Best
also known as
tunage,
best
yes.
tune. Let's see, what do we have in this illustrious list here? Well, I'll just start at the top, and I'll go to the bottom, and in the middle,
That's how
I'll
lists
tackle
work.
that stuff.
Yes. Thank you.
So we've got In the Halls of the Mountain King, as
Yes.
featured by a whistling Peter Lorre in M.
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes. And it ends like this: murder. And then next we have 42nd Street,
Dun,
which
dun, dun. Those dancing feet on the avenue I'm taking you to 42nd Street.
bump bump.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have Man on the Flying Trapeze, and It Happened One Night.
Dun, 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 dun. We are together on a depression bus.
Yep. And then last but not least, actually, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, last and least, we have Mr. Memory's theme.
Yes.
That
That one goes like this.
Steps.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Which is ironic
And-
because he can't forget it
Yeah.
in the movie. And it's,
Well, I did think that was kind of is a little humorous because he's like, "What is this tune I can't get out of my head?" And it's something really forgettable. Like I
Yes.
don't know what kind of memory that guy has, but
Yes.
it's not like good or catchy.
Yes.
But alas. So anyway, Travis, would you be? Gosh, did they get you? I hope they overnighted that. Do you have the envelope there?
Oh, I have the envelope that I
Okay.
definitely
Thank goodness.
didn't just make out of a piece of paper.
Okay. Well, let's do it. Are you making origami or are you opening an envelope?
I've shredded the award. No.
Oh.
The winner is In the Halls of the Mountain King from M.
Well deserved.
Well
I
deserved.
think.
Yes. I think probably the best unique usage of a tune in our season so far.
Yes.
All of these are interesting for different reasons, but In the Halls of the Mountain King from M is used recurringly. It's used to tell us about a character when we haven't seen him for like, what is he? He doesn't show up for like 40 minutes or something. So
Right.
it's sort of this foreboding, foreshadowing thing. And then it just keeps going and it gains new meaning when you hear it over and over again. That's the thing that gets under your skin from that movie.
Yeah, and that's such an iconic and it's an emotional song just by itself in one way, but it's really kind of twisted in
Yeah.
this movie, so it's not a comfort to hear or like a call to action. It's like sort of the beginning of a really gross feeling on the inside.
It's almost like a precursor to, when you start to get like horror scores later on and they have specific themes, when movie scores start to become what they really are, like, I'm thinking of like 1970s Halloween. John Carpenter was very specific. Each character in that movie has a specific theme. Well, this is exactly that, right? Like this is Peter Lorre's character's theme, and it's just really effective. And 42nd Street, I mean, we have to give honorable mention here because of all the things in that movie, that last sequence where you get to see the sprawling Busby Berkeley, just like brilliance of choreography and set pieces and the fluidity and to be fair, Sydney, when she graciously joined us, she pointed out a lot of like, I don't know if it's hidden meaning or if it was just hidden to me in that song that it really says a lot. It says a lot of what the movie's trying to say in a musical number. I was really impressed by that.
Yeah, and just the music itself, it can be, because there's such a great visual to go along in that big finale. I feel like the music of the actual song gets a little bit lost, but you just get a little taste of it in the scene where they're rehearsing, with the new actress that's going to take over, and the poor piano player is banging away. And holy crap, it's a complicated. That is not a 3-chord, what does John Goodman say in Inside Llewyn Davis? That's not cowboy chords.
Yeah.
That is
he says in jazz we play all the notes. It's pretty great.
Oh yeah. So and that guy is certainly playing all the notes.
Yeah, he's playing every note. He's playing notes that we didn't even know existed. Whereas in It Happened One Night, we have just kind of a wonderful glimpse into a little slice of the Depression, where you see people just finding a way to get by, or some camaraderie that is kind of foreign to us now. A bunch of people on a night bus traveling a long ways, and they're just singing along together. Finding community through music and enjoying it in a communal way, and it stands alone as I don't think we saw that exact thing, and that's a Capra capturing of that moment too, right?
Yeah.
Not to mention the song is pretty catchy and fun.
Yeah, and just again, I think we probably talked about this on the episode, so just tune this out if you have been really paying attention.
That was episode 4, just in case anyone's keeping track.
Yeah, this is from around the 30-minute mark. So just the ability of people to know how to sing, especially with some of these more... I mean, back then, frankly, I don't think they were complex harmonies, because that's just what people grew up singing. I was just talking to my grandfather the other day, who is in his 80s now.
And you were like, "Grandpa, I'm going to tear up the deed to your farm."
Well, I tore up the will first.
That's true.
And said, "This is null and void, and no, you cannot have any more pancakes." But that's a totally different story. But he was telling me, that when he had grown up, his folks had taught him, my great-grandparents had taught him all kinds of, old songs that people certainly riding this bus would have heard in their childhood and their heyday as well. And he regretted that he hadn't passed it on to his own kids, so that they didn't sing that to their own kids. But anyway, that semi-serious note, just to say that I think as great as that moment is for in that movie, and to get us just a little glimpse of life, even in a fictional setting, and how people used music in the 30s, it is also a little sad because in my opinion, at least, not every era in history is evil. Freudian slip. Not every era in history is equal. I don't think we're constantly going up, and I don't think we're constantly going down. I think it's more like a wave. But in the waves, I feel like we're in 2021 now. Musically, generally speaking, I think what is popular, unfortunately, tends to not be very... We just talked about 42nd Street and Man on the Flying Trapeze.
Yeah.
Turn on pop radio today. Unfortunately, I'm not saying this to be the old man or something like this darn kids' music. I'm just trying to point out that level of complexity and that level of thoughtfulness in composing music is not the norm, really.
Yeah. It's not pop music right now for the most part. And we're looking at you, Jonas Brothers. We're looking at you, Lady Gaga, Nicki Minaj. I don't know anymore. I'm out.
That's it.
I'm fresh out.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, Taylor Swift.
Ha.
Take
Got
that.
her.
Drake and
and Josh.
Drake and Josh. Okay, we already talked about Mr. Memory's theme. It's not memorable. Moving on.
Yep.
Now we're into the two big boys, the two big boy awards. The penultimate Golden Spud is going to go to our best acting performance, and we are on the bleeding edge of progressivism here. So we don't suss out actor and actress. We are calling this the best acting performance, and it includes our nominees are first Peter Lorre from 1931's M. Second, Dita Parlow from The Grand Illusion. Third, Harry Carey in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And fourth, Hattie McDaniel, Gone with the Wind. Justin, would you like to do the honors?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Envelope.
Yeah, I
Envelope.
know. I'm just looking. Okay. Gosh, this is hard.
Is that one of those 6-foot envelopes from Subway?
Hang on a second, man.
I'll give you another drum roll.
Okay, thank you. Almost there. It's Peter Lorre from M.
Hey,
Congrats, Peter.
Our bug-eyed friend. Yes. Okay. Well, I think this was perhaps our most eclectic list of nominees because they're leading actors, they're supporting actors, not the ones you might guess in some cases, but Peter Lorre and M. M looks like almost a sweep at this point for us because it's just, I don't know what else to say about it, man. It's fantastic. It gets under your skin, and that is largely in part to his turn as the killer on the run. When you get to that final kangaroo court sequence where he just like bears his soul to the audience, literally in the story and to us, the film watcher, there's not a lot better when it comes to screen acting than making you sympathize with a child killer. That is an incredible feat. Not because anything that Fritz Lang does or anything that Peter Lorre does makes you, forgive the sins of that character, but it does all the work necessary to humanize someone who, in many, many other films before it and many to come after it, would be dehumanized and reduced to, a sort of comic book villain or a vicious monster animal, not a human being.
Right. I think that's why M has the power that it does, because it doesn't go for the easy, especially like let's think of some modern day atrocities or something, school shooting or something, right? Mass shooting anywhere around the world. There, frequently if you're reading the discourse about this in journals or maybe just even talking to friends, because I've encountered both, where there is an attempt to dehumanize the perpetrator of those actions. And just like you said, it's not with the intent of, at least it's not our intent to say, well, we can't do that. Like this was a good guy or gal or whatever. No, but at the same point, like if we dehumanize them, then we really are setting ourselves back from even having the ability to understand the problem.
Right.
Because if we take away that person's humanity that did that, then we can't go like, oh, okay, I guess this is how that person got there. Right. Or, even if there's not a good reason, but if you just reduce that person to an animal or just some kind of monster, then I feel like we're taking ourselves out of the conversation. Like, no, this is just really alien. I don't know how this happened, and it can't really be solved. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
And Fritz Lang does the service of saying, you know what? No, these people, these are still people.
Right.
And regardless of how horrible these acts are, and Peter Lorre sends it all the way freaking home. I think he took 2 laps around the bases, actually.
That's what they call a double homer. Yeah,
that's what they call a double homer. And he really just, seriously, I don't know that we have a performance quite like his in this series. Yes, we have remarkable acting in just about every movie. But Peter Lorre, he rises to an extremely tough occasion to play that kind of character with that kind of depth. And I think for that reason, our committee must have selected him.
Yes, he gets the Golden Spud. And we have also Dita Parlo, honorable mention to all our runners-up. Dita Parlo is so good in the relatively short amount of screen time she has in The Grand Illusion. She just brings a lot more depth to a character that otherwise would have been relegated to a lesser actor or someone who maybe wasn't relied upon to bring some nuance and layers. She makes that third act of that movie just even more compelling than it needs to be.
Agreed. In the hands of a lesser actress, I think that just becomes that kills the movie, frankly. But she is really able to elevate all the stuff that she's given. She's given solid material to work with. I'm not saying that she makes, gold out of tar or something, but which is a common thing, especially in the 30s.
I can do that.
Out of tar. Well, who's to say that you can't? Not me, because I've asked you many times, will you turn my tar into gold?
Yeah. You got a lot of tar on your hands. It's kind of a lot.
It's kind of messy.
Yeah.
A little gross.
Yeah.
I don't want to just beat a dead horse, but we selected her because it's just the ability for that movie to transition from like a war movie, albeit a unique one like we talked about, to a concentration camp movie like we talked about, to suddenly this very compelling, super narrow in scope tale of domestic life and how that's affected by war.
Yeah.
She owns the whole burden of selling that. And she does it marvelously. So thank you, Dita.
Thank you, Dita. Okay, and for our third runner-up here, we have Harry Carey, not the Chicago Cubs announcer.
Hey, guys. Have you ever thought what happens if Mr. Smith goes to Washington? I have.
Yeah.
Cotton candy.
Yeah. If the moon was made of cheese, would you eat it? Was one of the great Will Ferrell lines on SNL when he did Harry Carey. No, this guy, he plays the president of the Senate, and man, with so little dialogue and so little screen time, he brings something to this movie that it doesn't necessarily need, but it just bumps it up that extra notch because someone in the room is rooting for Jefferson Smith in the way that he can. He's not overruling other senators and pushing the bureaucracy to favor Jefferson Smith. It never does, right? But he smirks and he sees the spunk and he sees that there's a core of truth and reality to what Jefferson Smith is trying to do, and he is us, right? He's us kind of urging Jefferson Smith on throughout the thing, and it's just he got nominated for Best Supporting Actor, even though he has 5 lines in the movie. It's really it's an incredible job for such little to do, seemingly.
Agreed. Frankly, don't have anything to add. You did another double homer.
Double homer, baby. That was a triple homer. I don't even care what you say.
Holy
Harry Carey would have called that a triple homer. That's a triple homer. Okay, and of course, we can't leave everyone from Gone with the Wind out. And in my mind, the Academy got one thing right, which was they gave Heidi McDaniel the Oscar. She takes a script that is uphill work, right? It does do very little for characters of color, the slave characters. And she just gets every bit of, spunk and characterization with just so she adds so much to, I think, on the page, what is pretty small given to her, makes that character so memorable and human, in many ways. And there's just not enough good that can be said about Hattie McDaniel and Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, not surprisingly, I totally agree. That'd be a little awkward if no, man, she not sucked. Performance blew.
Yeah.
No, I mean, she, again, in the hands of a different actress, I feel like those same lines even could be very caricaturish or stereotyped. But that Hattie McDaniel has so much freaking personality in a good way. Where she just leaps off the screen as like you said, as a real person, as a human being, someone who is, yes, repressed by her station and her lot in life, but is still able to have some agency, the agency that she is allowed to have in that latitude. She's often pushing the boundaries of in a great way, I think. So while the Academy didn't allow her to freaking sit with the rest of the people at the award ceremony, at least she was actually given the award.
That's right. Okay, we're here. This is the final one. We're going to land the autogyros, and yep, we're going to get out of them because they're incredibly dangerous, which is why they didn't catch them. And Justin, I'll let you go first.
Okay.
What is your favorite film? What receives the Golden Spud Award for your favorite film for season 1?
Well, I'd just like to say thank you to the Academy or the Spud Committee Academy.
The Spud Committee Academy, that's what they're called.
For letting me choose this distinguished honor. So thank you. Thank you all. It would be Jean Renoir's The Grand Illusion, my friend.
Yes.
Not just because of my French tendencies or even personal experience, although probably those things both do bear some kind of influence on that choice. But just a lot of movies on our list are kind of doing the same thing. Not all of them, but a lot of them are trying to get us to connect as humans, to move beyond the things that do try to divide or distract us in life.
Right.
And to me, The Grand Illusion is my take for the movie that does that the most and hits the closest for me. Just because you have people that are in the worst circumstances of life. I don't know what is worse than war in the world, you know? And so you have people that have been tasked with literally sanctioned killing of each other, and yet they're trying to build bonds with one another. Yet they're showing humanity and compassion to each other. And so I don't know how you walk away from that movie and go like, I think I'll sign up for the army, you know. I feel like I can say that as somebody that did serve, you know.
Right.
I'm not just some crazy anti-war, like, you know, it doesn't come from just a specific political platform or something. But as somebody that, you know, has hopefully at least a modicum of right to talk about that, it feels so refreshing, so cathartic in a way, to see that, like, that's what matters. Like, no, we often, quite often, you know, not every war is World War II. So if you look just from an American perspective at the wars that have happened, you know, you watch a movie like this, and my impression, what I come away with is like, gosh, how wasted, man. How much life has been wasted in this world because people's pride or greed or whatever. So for that reason, Mr. Renoir's film takes first place for me. How about for you?
I hated The Grand Illusion. No, just kidding. Here's my pick. "1939's Mr. Smith Goes to Washington." Yes, I gave it to the film that made me cry because a lot of these were great. I have to say, I think we probably batted a little above our average, if the future tells us anything, with picking movies that were enjoyable and meaningful. And, you know, we do a little bit of work to kind of curate these, but ultimately we're picking things we're not super familiar with, like as far as the whole season goes. And this one I had more familiarity with than many of the other ones on the list, but it hit me in a very visceral way. And I think, you know, again, without getting preachy or something like that, like the current cultural climate that we live in, which is so divided and polarized, and every other word you've heard on, you know, pundits' lips in the past however many years, this one hits differently because to me it's a story about truth and the importance of striving for it, and how, you know, justice for a person or a group of people or a nation or the world for that matter, it can't be founded upon something that is an untruth. And Jimmy Stewart knows how to pull on ye old heartstrings, and I can't tell you that any other movie, regardless of the excellent quality we witnessed, really had a moment like, well, it looks like it's just another one of those lost causes. And that, for me, that was the cake taker, the deal sealer, it was the thing. That was the thing.
It was the shish kebab.
It was the shish kebab. Yes, indeed. Well, man, before we go, we really do need to thank our sponsor and
yes,
give them a little bit more of their time, because they poured millions into this episode. So,
right.
Let's take one more quick ad break before we say goodbye to the folks.
Leprechaun Bob here again, folks, with your word of the day for you. Whiskey, as in, woman, where's my whiskey?
Well, we came with an armful of spuds, a basket full, a bushel,
indeed,
if you will. And I'm all out of spuds, Justin. Do you have any left?
No, and if I did, you can't have them.
Okay, well, in that case, folks, I hope you enjoyed the first Golden Spud Awards. Justin, I've never, ever pretended to have more fun in my life.
I have, but that's okay. Yeah, I guess it was fun. I mean, you just tell us, people, give us that 1-star review.
Yeah.
Use your foulest language. You know, bring us down a peg or two.
Please.
or not. I mean, it's up to you.
We deserve it.
Yeah. What do we got coming up in the the next eons?
What we've got coming up is a brand new palate cleansing between decades series on heist films, which we've already revealed to you, but we're super excited to get through these interesting, unique, eclectic picks. We hope you'll join us. And I guess we'll see you next week, huh, Justin?
Sounds like a grand plan.
Top of the morning to ya.
Fare with thee well. Hey, since you're still here and still listening, thank you, by the way, we'd like to ask an additional favor of you.
We have social media. It's a thing on the internet, and all you need to do is find us on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook and like and subscribe. I know this is annoying, but we have to ask you because we want more people to hear the show. In addition to that, if you could rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, we would greatly appreciate it. See you next week. Bye.